Many people leave Christianity because of some questions that are hard to answer. I acknowledge this, but I also know that you've got much harder questions if you're an atheist.
I mean, I guess this is an improvement. You're saying they're difficult, not impossible. Questions we just can't answer and so on. Who wants to bet they're not going to be that difficult, though?
Today I'm going to be talking about 3 questions that are perfectly easy for Christians to answer, but are almost impossible for atheists to answer.
I spoke too soon. They just got upgraded from difficult to almost impossible.
I'm defining an atheist as someone who does not believe in God or any sort of supernatural, like human soul or something.
Yeah, so a non-standard definition. Typical. But at least you're saying it outright. The term you're looking for, though, is naturalist. I know 3 difficult questions for naturalists isn't as clickbaity, but there's no need to warp the definition of one term when there's already another term for it.
I'm just defining an atheist as sort of a naturalist.
Oh. Well, there you are. You could have just said naturalist from the start. Didn't have to make crap up.
The first question that they really can't answer is, why is human life worth more than an animal life?
Sapiens. Well, that one was easy. Of course, you don't need to be an atheist or even a naturalist to answer that. Any basic grounding in ethics would do. A little later in his rambling video, he tries to strawman this by saying it's about intelligence, and brings up that old canard about, was Isaac Newton's life worth any more? Actually, I'm giving him too much credit. He didn't bring up Newton, he kept going on about a baby as dumb as a pig, but either way, it's an equivocation fallacy. Obviously, people who use the word intelligence in that context are referring to sapience, not IQ. Again, a basic grounding in ethics would have corrected that notion for him. And he even came up with that bit about how humans treat each other worse than animals do each other, which is demonstrably untrue. And speaking of demonstrably untrue, he brings up again the long-debunked Hitler and Stalin were atheist crap. In the middle of it all, he tries to shove in this.
We know that human life is superior to animal life. Human life was set apart in the Garden of Eden. Regardless of how literally you take that story, the Bible is very clear that human life is set apart and superior in some sense to animal life.
I really don't know if you want to be saying this too loudly around people who've actually read the Old Testament. God treats both humans and animals like total crap in that book. Sometimes even worse. Like, the punishment for bestiality is putting the person and the animal to death, even though the animal had no say in the arrangement. The person is the one who did something wrong. Punish them. And God didn't really treat them much different in the flood, did he? I mean, I guess slightly more humans were saved than were each species of animal, but most of them were wiped out without a thought. And the 10 plagues really seem to have hit animals harder than people. Most people, except the firstborn, just got some annoying boils. But fish and livestock were wiped out in droves. And the hail hit equally every person and animal who wasn't inside. Seems to me, like all Christians, you're reading what you want to read into the Bible. Anyway, after rambling on for several minutes about that, he finally gets to his next question.
So the next question that atheists really can't answer.
By the way, no one minds if I do the thing where I use AI to take out the freaking music again, right? Sheesh, seriously.
Is, why should humans care about the environment?
Because we live here? And we want to keep living here? Another easy one.
But I think in a Christian worldview, it's a lot more consistent to care about the environment than an atheist one.
Why? If you're a Christian, you believe everything is God's will, and so humans couldn't destroy the environment. And anyway, the end times will come when Jesus says, and not a moment before or later, no matter what we do. Seriously, actual Christian politicians have said this. And yes, regarding environmental issues. This isn't even a straw man. And before you say anything, yes, this guy is an end times Christian. He says later in his video that he believes in the literal rapture. He then rambles on a while about some point he thinks is good, and then says,
really, any moral claims imply that there is like a moral lawgiver.
Yeah, like I said, a basic grounding in ethics would have taught him about deontology. There's no lawgiver for math or logic, and yet it is what it is. Same deal here. And like with so many other things in the video, we've already responded to much better formulations of the argument for morality than this guy came up with.
So yeah, that's thing number 2. And thing number 3 is similar. It also has to do with the environment, but it's basically why should we care about anything that's not like directly related to our own pleasure? Basically, why should we care about whether humanity will flourish 100 years from now or 1,000 years from now?
Seriously, there are people who have asked much better versions of these questions that we've knocked down already. This is nothing more than a rambling and ineffective restatement of, without God, what stops you from murdering a bunch of people? Only with a futurist angle. Which, again, is weird because it's historically Christians who have said we needn't worry about it because humanity will last exactly as long as the end times, no more, no less.
If you're an atheist, there's no reason to care about the survival of anything, really, if everything is going to die eventually. Because, according to the laws of physics, according to the second law of thermodynamics specifically, there's what's called the inevitable heat death of the universe. That means that eventually it's inevitable that...
Yeah, I'm gonna spare you the rest of that. We all know where he's going with this, even if it took him a bit longer to figure it out himself. But now he's turned 90 degrees and isn't arguing against atheism or naturalism, but nihilism. And even then, not just nihilism, and not even existential nihilism, but specifically passive nihilism or philosophical pessimism. Which is weird, because less than a minute before this, he said anything that's not directly related to our own pleasure, where philosophical pessimism says that our pleasure actually contributes nothing to our existence. So he's as ignorant of philosophy as he is ethics.
Because it's a question that the existentialist philosophers like Albert Camus posed.
Ah, great. Now he's gonna try and talk philosophy. I already feel the headache coming on. Although that might have been the music from earlier.
It's like life is, generally speaking, more pain than pleasure.
I think you might be getting him confused with Arthur Schopenhauer. Camus was an absurdist.
And if there's nothing after this, like, painful life, the only question that remains is the question of should we continue going on living if it's more pain than pleasure and if nothing good will last.
Yeah, definitely not talking about Camus there. Really sounds like Schopenhauer. The main difference between absurdists like Camus and philosophical pessimists like Schopenhauer is the answer to the question, can humans act with meaning and ethics in a universe without voice? Camus would answer yes, whereas Schopenhauer, just as you describe atheists, would have answered no. And if you want Camus' answer to your question, that was his idea of the metaphysical rebellion, where humans oppose the meaningless universe by creating meaning, and oppose pain by creating pleasure. And from that, you get his deontology. The rebel must be the one who fights the intrinsic evil of his own revolt, so as not to cause any unjustifiable suffering. In fact, Camus also handily answers your first question too. The difference between humans and animals is that humans rebel against suffering. They work to end and even prevent it. Animals don't. Oh, they try and avoid it. The antelope will run from the lion to avoid a painful death, but it won't fashion a weapon to fight off the lion and send it a message not to try that again. And he also provided an answer to your second question. In 1957, responding to the escalating threat of nuclear war, he said, "We have nothing to lose except everything." And just a coda, It's actually Christians who can't answer this question due to the problem of evil that they keep running away from.
I took a class in high school on existential literature,
which clearly didn't take.
So the questions that no atheists really want to confront
are questions we've actually answered over and over and over and over and over again.
There's no point in creating anything if it's just going to be destroyed. Like, for example, I love creating things in Minecraft. I would not create a Minecraft world if I knew it was going to be deleted in a day.
Why? Is the momentary pleasure of playing the game nothing to you? I wasted a lot of time in my youth playing Tetris, even though the walls I built never lasted until the next player. I mean, I get it, you have that feeling of accomplishment, but you're not actually accomplishing anything, you realize that, right? And it's fine if you do, but if you say you wouldn't do anything you knew wouldn't exist the next day, well, I just gotta wonder things like, would you decorate a birthday cake for your kids? 'Cause that'll get demolished in no time, brother. Life is not about birth and death. It's about what happens in between. It's your one and only shot at existence. Make the most of it.
Pose this to your atheist friends.
Or don't, and avoid looking like an idiot. So thanks for watching. Please hit like and subscribe, leave a comment, and go to donate.pagosity.tv to keep me doing what I do. And check out all the great content here, like this video selected just for you.